27 Understanding Order 80.
There was a consideration of the report from the Committee on Government Assurance that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on Government Assurances for the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly. The document was laid on the table of the House on Monday, 16th June 2025, and the mover of this motion was Ms. Chusi Kasanda, who is the chairperson of this committee, and the report was adopted. The House did adjourn accordingly at 18:25 hours. So that's the business that was considered on the floor of the House yesterday. Expected to be considered on the floor of the House today.
Indeed, President, today we do expect some announcements. We also expect the House to consider some urgent matters without notice, if there will be any, and we expect the House to consider 10 questions for our answer Understanding Order 80, and these are questions of ordinary nature. We also expect the House to consider one motion. President, we get into the details.
The detail of the report is coming from Mr. Remember Mutale, who is a chairperson of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements, urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements on the consideration of the statutory instruments for 2024 and the review of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement for the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly. The document was laid on the table of the House on the 16th of June 2025, and we expect Chilanga, Member of Parliament, who is also a member of the Legislation and International Agreement Committee. This is Mr. Chico Lazo, MP for Chilanga constituency, to second this motion.
Indeed, and some of the questions that we expect the House to consider do include question 328, which is expected to be asked by Mr. Chinga Miyutu, who is Kalabo Central Member of Parliament. He wants to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development why the construction of the National Registration Office building in Kalabo District has stalled, when the project will resume, and at what level of completion in percentage terms the project was as of December 2024.
In a moment's time, you'll be able to see the Honorable Madam Speaker making her way to the chamber. That will signify the commencement of today's business. And that moment, if that moment arrives, we'll be able to cross over to the floor of the House for the commencement of today's business. But to continue sharing with you some of the questions that are expected to appear or to be considered on the floor of the House today. The other question is question 336, which will come from Chadiza Member of Parliament, Mr. J. Daka, and this question is directed to the Minister of Education. He wants to know when the government will procure information and communication technology equipment for the following district in Chadiza, primary school, secondary schools, and the Office of the District Education Secretary. Request over to the floor of the House.
Honorable Members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wit and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our rights. We want freedom side, oh, and strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, passion with and blessed by God's children. Let us all have people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry. Dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to God, praise be, bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia. Praise to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Order, honorable members, I have one announcement to make. The announcement is that, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Refedem Institute Limited in Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. You may take your seats. Thank you. Thank you. Urgent matters without notice. The Honorable Member from Mukaika. Honorable members, as we raise these urgent matters without notice, let's be precise to the point. Let's not debate and bring in controversial issues that cannot be substantiated with evidence. And you have 2 minutes. The Honorable Member from Mukaika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My matter of urgent public importance is directed to the Minister of Home Affairs, Madam Speaker. The matter, Madam Speaker, is concerning the issuance of NRCs in Eastern Province, Katete, and other districts, and also Kasenengwa. This program, Madam Speaker, is on standstill. No issuance of NRCs is going on because of the lack of materials by the officers there. Now, you recall that Honorable Minister of Home Affairs stood here and also told the people of Zambia that this program will run for 90 days. And for 2 weeks now, the exercise is on standstill. Is the Honorable Minister in order not to tell the nation once again that this exercise is on standstill, and that because of that, there will be an extension of that? Madam Speaker, I need your indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member from Kaika. I believe the issue of issuance of national registration cards is an ongoing process. And if honorable members have got any concerns in terms of how the process is going, it's better to engage the relevant minister so that you can find out what the challenges are. As I've guided earlier on previously, that bringing a matter on the floor of the House as an urgent matter without notice, in my view, does not solve the problem. Honorable members, when you raise a matter, you want the matter to be addressed and resolved. So please take time and visit the minister to bring these concerns to his attention. That way, you will be in a way solving or contributing to the solving of the problem. So, Honorable Member from Kaika, find another way that you can bring this matter on the floor of the House. But it doesn't qualify to be raised as an urgent matter without notice. The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
You are not. Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honourable Member from Kaika, for that. It's also an issue in my constituency. Nonetheless, Madam Speaker, today my phones were ringing off the hook. A lot of phone calls came in, Madam Speaker. These phone calls came from the community where I also belong, in Palabana. The farmers in Palabana have been receiving letters asking them to surrender their title deeds. So these phone calls came from the people who have already received and those who have not yet received. And Madam Speaker, you know, Palabana, where I also belong, has a cooperative there called the Palabana Dairy Cooperative Society, which is the biggest dairy cooperative in Zambia. Some of these people who are receiving letters to surrender their title deeds are farmers who have ventured into dairying, and they're adding value to Palabana and to the Zambian economy. Now, people do not know. There is panic and apprehension in Palabana. Madam Speaker, we may need the Minister of Lands to address this matter. As I'm talking to you right now, because of those phone calls, the Palabana Society is glued to TV to hear what the Minister of Lands is going to say about this matter. Because everyone else, Madam Speaker, is in panic as to why people are being asked to surrender their title deeds and be compensated with land elsewhere where they don't know, but it doesn't talk about the property or the developments that have been done at that particular land. There is no compensation to that effect. I seek your serious indulgence, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Member for Kasenengwa. And I'm really surprised by that matter that you are raising, because you are just seated behind the Honorable Minister of Lands. Have you taken a time to engage her and find out what is really happening? So, unfortunately, that matter does not qualify to be raised as an urgent matter without notice. Honorable Member for Kasenengwa, find another means. If it's not admitted, it doesn't mean that it's not important. It's just that it does not qualify. So find another way that you can bring it to the attention of the Minister and indeed to bring it on the floor of the House. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Madam Speaker, I rise on an urgent matter without notice directed to our Honor, the Vice President, who is the leader of government business in the House. Madam Speaker, the United States is arguably one of our biggest cooperating partners who helps Zambia in many spheres, education, health, and otherwise. Today, as we speak, Madam Speaker, there are thousands of Zambian citizens who are in the US, either studying, doing business, and others who may be traveling to the US. Several international media organizations, including the Washington Post, have reported that Zambia is among the many countries that have been enlisted to face a traveling ban to the United States. Madam Speaker, this, you know, if we are banned traveling to the US, will affect a lot of our people who are in the US and those intending to travel. Is our honor the Vice President, in order not to, or rather to sit quiet and not to come and inform the nation to allay these fears of this impending traveling ban? I seek your serious ruling on the matter.
I'm sure the Honorable Member for Nkana was in the House yesterday when the Honorable Member for Lunte was raising a similar urgent matter without notice. If it's not the honor, but it was raised yesterday, similar matter, touching on another foreign country. So, Honorable Member for Nkana, you know the criteria for admission of any matter as an urgent matter without notice. The standing orders are give us guidance and they are very instructive. So I am not saying it's not important, but maybe the route that you are choosing to raise that matter is not the correct one. Please find another way that you can use to bring that matter to the attention of the Honorable Minister or Her Honor the Vice President, and indeed eventually to bring it on the floor of this House. When we are talking about another foreign country, you know, it's very tricky, and even our standing orders have got limitations on how far we can go when we are discussing a foreign country. But I'll leave it in the hands of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to see, maybe to take steps to find out the position, and when he's ready, when he has consulted sufficiently, he can come and give a ministerial statement on what measures have been taken and what impact this ban will be, or if indeed there is a ban or no ban. So let's allow the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs to make the necessary consultations, and then he can come back to us when he's ready. So that concludes urgent matters without notice. We make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 80. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 328.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central is asking the Minister or the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development the following three questions. A, why the National Registration Office in Kalabo District has stalled. B, when the project will resume. And C, what level of completion in percentage terms the project was as of December 2024. Madam Speaker, we answer as follows. The answer to A is construction of the National Registration Passports and Citizens Office block in Kalabo District stalled due to inadequate funds to complete the project. B, the project will resume when a new contractor has been procured. C, the percentage completion of the project as at December 2024 was 60%. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you for the response and responses. The acquisition of finding a new contractor versus the availability of funds or lack of funds, Honorable Minister. These things, when these things are made into a plan, is it that there was no financial planning to make sure that those resources are available, then they embark on those projects, or what, Honorable Minister? so that we can understand, we match with you. Was there any planning, first of all, when the government came up with that project? Because there's a similar project in Mongo, similar in terms of design and plan. So I don't know what happened in the process that made these funds not to be available.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honourable Member for the follow-up question. I think just to put everything in perspective so that it is understood, let me just say this project, first of all, is being implemented under the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security, and of course being supervised by my ministry. Just to give a bit of history, the contract for the construction of National Registration Passports and Citizens Office block in Kalabo District was initially awarded to Apotec Services in March 2014. So that gives you an indication as to which administration gave that particular contract. As to whether we can answer whether they are the funds or not, maybe it's not possible at the moment. It has been overtaken by events. But it was given out in 2014. And the contract sum was 825 million kwacha 515,039 ngwe. No, let me repeat that. The contract sum was 825,515 and 39 ngwe, with a stipulated completion period of 20 weeks. Now, due to inadequate funding, the project stalled at roof level from 2014 and was eventually terminated in May 2022. You remember we spoke on the floor of this House of projects that have not reached 80% to be terminated. This is one of those that was caught up. And at that particular time, when the contract was terminated, a full value of 567,618 kwacha had been paid to the contractor for certified works. Now, the revised Bill of Quantities, which we have since done to complete the outstanding works, has been prepared, and the procurement process for a new contractor is currently running on the e-government platform. So that project is proceeding, and the procurement process is being undertaken now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member for Kalabo, do you have any other question?
Thank you. That response gives us hope that we won't have a white elephant which is not complete in the district, and it's going to add value to the development of the district. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. It was a comment, so we make progress. Next question, the Honourable Member of Fompika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Question number 329.
The Honourable Minister of Transport, Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member, Mr. Kapyanga, asked the Minister of Transport and Logistics, A, whether the government has any plans to expand Chibansa Airstrip in Mpika district so as to accommodate bigger aeroplanes. B, if so, when the plans will be commenced. And C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, to the Honourable colleague, my colleague, the response is as follows. Government has no plans to expand Chibansa Airstrip in Mpika district so as to accommodate bigger aeroplanes due to resource constraints. However, in addition, Chivansa Airstrip is currently in a good condition and operational, unless my colleague has another statement to that. The airstrip has been licensed by Civil Aviation Authority. To the question in B, as already stated above, that the government has no plans, and indeed because it is operational, then the question in B does not really follow in that sense. Furthermore, since the management of all the district aerodromes were devolution to the respective local authorities in 2018, in line with the national decentralization policy, the expansion of Chivansa Airstrip should be undertaken also, if possible, by Mpika District Council. We therefore urge the Honourable Member, my fellow colleague, to engage with Mpika District Council to see if there could be plans to also add the airstrip to accommodate the bigger aircraft. Madam Speaker, that is our response.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honourable Member from Mpika. You are satisfied. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very unusual to satisfy the Honourable Member from Mpika, but it's very good, yes. So we make progress. The next question, the Honourable Member for Chiengi. Oh. After being satisfied, now there is a point of order. The Honourable Member from Mpika, what's the point of order?
Madam Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity to rise on a point of order against the Honourable Member of Parliament for Kwacha, who is, Madam Speaker, fond of mocking members whenever they're asking questions. He is just from mocking me, Madam Speaker, that if I want Chivansa Airstrip to be expanded, I need to go to him to get his CDF. Madam Speaker, decorum of the House and the precedence. Madam Speaker, is the Honourable Member of Parliament for Kwacha in order to insinuate that actually members are able to get their colleagues' CDF and channel it to development in their respective constituencies, when he knows that is not even impossible? Is in order, Madam Speaker. I seek your very serious ruling so that he stops this habit of passing running comments. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if it's cousinship, but I know you are not cousins. But definitely, maybe just throwing some initiative at you that he's not using his CDF, so why don't you get some of his money and put in your constituency? So that I'm sure he was acting as a big brother. So we can make progress. There is no point of order there that is worth making a ruling on. But I'm sure you know how you treat each other in the background there. So let's just remain friends, human to each other, and respect each other. The Honourable Member for Chieng is the next, but I see that she's not in the House. And there having been no prior arrangement, the question number 330, consequently lapses in accordance with our standing orders. The next question, Honourable Member for Kasama Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 331. Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Mwamba, Kasama Central, would like to find out from the Minister of Health whether the government has any plans to construct a mortuary unit at Munkonge Health Post in Kasama District. Madam Speaker, may I begin by stating that the health service delivery system in Zambia is designed with the following structures. 1, health centers. 2, zonal health centers. 3, first level hospital, which at times is called district. 4, second level hospital, that's a general hospital. 5, third level hospital, that's teaching hospital. 6, fourth level hospital, that's specialized hospital. The government, through the Health Professions Council of Zambia, has in place the National Health Care Standards and Classification Guidelines, which has classified health posts to health centers. Health Professional Council of Zambia, the regulatory body of health facilities and practitioners, other than nurses and midwives, who are also the custodians of the National Health Care Standards. According to the National Health Care Standards and Classification Guidelines, a health post, which is now reclassified as health center, a mortuary unit is not part of the standard. As such, Madam Speaker, Munkanga Health Post in Kasama does not qualify to have a mortuary unit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kasama.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your elaborate answer. Honorable Minister, Munkonge is actually not a health post, but it's a mini hospital. And I do understand that probably in the government policy, the mini hospitals do not come with mortuaries. Hence, my question to ask if government would consider. From Munkonge Mini Hospital into Kasama is 50 kilometers and into Luwingu is 110 kilometers. I had mentioned much earlier in the week when we were discussing about also having a police post, that area is very prone to accidents and it becomes quite difficult for the residents to try and transport the bodies into Kasama district or into Luwingu. Hence, Honorable Minister, it may not be in the policy, but just if you could look into the matter to have Munkonge Mini Hospital also have a mortuary considered. Kasama General Hospital, the capacity is also not enough. So since it's a separate question, maybe whilst I'm on the floor, I would also request that there is consideration for Kasama General Hospital as well to have the mortuary capacity increased. And for the record, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Honorable Minister that he's assisting Kasama General Hospital with blankets and other items. So on that score, Honorable Minister, thank you and keep assisting us as you consider giving Munkonge Mini Hospital a mortuary. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, let's tone down. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Depending on what a mini hospital is, health center can also be a mini hospital. But of course, looking at the distance, 110 is quite far. And also looking at the population, I think we have to take into consideration that with the CDF, what we can simply do is this. Look at the population, you put up a structure, of course with the guidelines from health, and then we can buy you the mortuary unit. That one has to be assessed. In short, we have to assess, I'll be in Kasama very soon, we have to make sure that we go there and see whether we can help you with a mortuary unit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chipili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think the Minister has answered my concern because I was thinking if you want to upgrade the level 1 hospital, we use the CDF is it possible? But you have already answered that question. In fact, that's what we are trying to do ourselves. We are building a mortuary and theater. Thank you.
It was a supplementary answer. The Honorable Member for Lubasenshi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, issue of mortuary unit at Munkonge is really important to consider. I do appreciate the response, but I would like to ask a question. And the emphasis is that Luwingu and Kasama, we are talking about 165 kilometers. And in terms of population, Munkonge area enjoys a lot of population. And again, because of the bad road network in terms of cable and the like, a lot of accidents happen that side. So, my question to you, when is your ministry intending to help the people of Munkonge, knowing fully that Kasama Central is too big, and the CDF alone, at the moment, cannot sort out all the issues. And the people of Munkonge, through Kasama Central, they want to get assurance. Are you able to tell the time frame when the ministry is going to support the people of Munkonge with mortuary unit? I submit.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the follow-up question. I already said and made a commitment that I'll be in Kasama, and we shall commit ourselves to buying a mortuary unit. We have to work together with the Member of Parliament. The CDF money is not private money. It's a GRZ money from the Treasury, which has been increased from the 1.6 to 36.1. If you spend even 2 million, 2 million is a lot of money. You build a mortuary, a building you put up there, we can help with the mortuary unit. I'm already sympathizing with that because she says it's 110 and the population is big. If she qualifies, why not? We are going to assist. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kasama Central.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I'll just make my final comment. Honorable Minister, I wish to thank you for the government assurance that you have given. And I also pledge to pay you a visit so that we can try and map the way forward. CDF funds alone, they also have, CDF funds have quite a number of pressing needs. So we still will need to look into it and not per se look so much into CDF. Hope we can find cooperating partners that can also assist us. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health, do you want to make a comment?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the follow-up. Mortuary unit is equipment. It's easy. The other one is infrastructure. To go into infrastructure, we have put your government, the previous government, left a lot of buildings incomplete. We are trying to complete those buildings. We cannot go into new ones. We have first of all to complete those, but with the same CDF, if it is a priority, why can't we work together so that we can, if it is a priority in that area? I'm saying a building, 1 million out of 36.1, spend 1 million, you have a good building for a mortuary, and then we shall give you the unit through the equipment we buy from Zambia. We have to compromise. It's the same port. We have to say thank you to Hakainde Chilema, who has increased the CDF from 1.6 to 36.1. It's a lot of money. Just 1 million. Madam Speaker, 1 million only. We can build and then we shall give them a unit, a mortuary unit. I think we need just to compromise. As she's thanking me for the blankets, and also we are doing the renovation on the Kasama Hospital, which has serious crack, and also the beds which we are helping her. Say thank you to this government which is so sympathetic. We shall help her, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kasama Central has said thank you for that. So we make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. People of Chadiza are asking question number 332.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
My green economy. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Jonathan Daka, Member of Parliament for Chadiza, is asking the Minister of Green Economy and Environment the following questions. In A, whether the government has any plans to recruit forest guard officers for Chadiza. In B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, how many officers are earmarked for recruitment? And in D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, this question is very similar to the question that we were answering yesterday from my beloved Member of Parliament for Kalabo Central, and it is just a continuation. Our response, Madam Speaker, in A, if we have plans, indeed government has plans to recruit forest range guards countrywide, including Chadiza. And this is envisaged to enhance the conservation of forests countrywide.
Yes.
In B, when the plans will be implemented, the deployment of forest guards, Madam Speaker, is dependent on the granting of Treasury Authority for the 117 positions that we talked about even yesterday, countrywide, for forest ranger guards in the approved staff establishment. And in C, how many for Chadiza in the 117? Madam Speaker, each district is divided in 2 zones, depending on how large the forest is in each district. So each zone is managed by 1 forest guard officer. So in Chadiza, we have demarcated that forest in 5 zones, meaning Chadiza will have 5 forest range guards. And in D, question D, if there are no plans, Madam Speaker, we have plans to recruit at least 5 from Chadiza. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Minister, thank you very much for that response to the question that the people of Chadiza have asked you. The question is quite satisfied, and we will communicate to our people in accordance to the way you have answered. However, the only appeal that I can make as a Member of Parliament for Chadiza is let's expedite the whole process of recruiting these forest guards. Because let's expedite the process of recruitment for these guards so that we ensure that we don't allow our forests to be completely depleted. There are a lot of illegal activities which are happening in this forestry, and the most nuisance of an activity is charcoal burning. So we have to expedite, because if you remember very well, Honorable Minister, those old days where we used to have these forest guards, we never used to have this kind of activities of deforestation. Our forests were safe. Therefore, that's why the people of Chadiza are appealing to government to expedite the whole process of recruitment. That's my comment, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if the Honorable Acting Minister of Green Economy and Environment wants to comment on that comment.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. We can only say well noted. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We make progress. The next question to be asked by the Honorable Member for Kasama Central on behalf of the Honorable Member for Chipangali by prior arrangement.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. On behalf of Honorable Andrew Lubusha, Member of Parliament for Chipangali constituency, I wish to ask question number 333. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Lubusha, would like to find out in A, when the following health facilities in Chipangali Parliamentary constituency will be operationalized. 1, Chamasongwe and Sisenje. And in B, what the cause of the delay in operationalizing the health facilities is. Madam Speaker, in A, allow me to mention that to the House that government, working through Health Professional Council of Zambia, which is the regulatory body of health facilities and practitioners other than nurses and midwives, for health facility to be operationalized, it must satisfy at least the following criteria as per national health care standards. 1, running water and flushable toilets. 2, energy source that is grid or solar. 3, provision of storehouse. 4, medical and non-medical equipment. 5, human resources for health. 6, incinerator for medical waste management, that's either brick or electric. 7, registration and license from the Health Professional Council of Zambia. This is as stipulated under Part 6 of Section 38 of HPCZ Act number 17 of 2024, which prohibits a health facility from operating without a license. Madam Speaker, the 2 health centers, that is Chamasongwe and Sisinje, will be operationalized as soon as all the complements of the facilities are put in place. In B, Madam Speaker, the delays to operationalize these facilities have been due to the following. 1, running water and flushable toilets. There is nothing there. Water pipes have been extended to the facility. Energy source, that is grid or solar, there is nothing. Provision of storehouse, there is nothing, though under procurement. Medical and non-medical equipment, nothing. And also in the other place also there is nothing. Human resource for health, nothing. And also in the other facility, nothing. Incinerator for medical waste management, brick or electrical, in both facilities, there is none. HPCZ license, both of them have in court. My minister, through the Provincial Health Office in Eastern Province, Chipangali District Health Office, are in constant communication with the Chipangali Local Authority and the Office of the One Member of Parliament over the required developments of the health facilities. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Kasama Central.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for such an elaborate answer. Honorable Minister, in your answer, you have indicated to say as soon as. Is it possible to try and give an exact time frame for as soon as? Because these facilities have been constructed and it's been a while now, and they also risk to be vandalized very soon. The collaboration between CDF construction, now I think the lapse is on the Ministry of Health to try and operationalize these facilities. When can we try and put as soon as into a time frame? I submit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, thank you for the follow-up question. The term frame is determined if these listed standards, at least some of them have been met. But when you check on the list, most of them are not in place. Once these are in place, we are ready to operationalize the centers. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Lundazi a chance to make a follow-up question to the Honorable Minister of Health, who have been engaging, and finally he delivered the beds in Lundazi. I would want to find out from you, Honorable Minister, whilst you do part of the work, the operationalization of these health facilities still remains unknown. I would want to find out from you, apart from the beds and everything, what is so difficult for you to assign workers to go and start doing the work, especially in Lundazi and also in Chipangali, looking at the cost which the locals have to incur in order to ensure that the facilities are not vandalized. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the follow-up. It is not only the bed which has been given to my colleague there. Many items, yes, through the Speaker, many items have been given to our center. So you want to appreciate that you have received bulk.
Honorable Minister, the Honorable Member for Lundazi has acknowledged that...
Only one bed. She said a bed.
No, she said you have delivered. So all the Honorable Minister can say is thank you for acknowledging.
Thank you for acknowledging. Well done. This government is doing very, very well. Madam Speaker, there is a law in place. This is Part 6 of Section 38 of the HPCZ Act number 17 of 2024, which prohibits a health facility from operating without a license. Meaning, if it is a CDF facility, work with the council, work with the provincial health director, so that they come and inspect and then you obtain a license. And make sure that all these have been met. Then we can operationalize the center. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The answer should be directed this side, though, instead of that side. The Honorable Member for Kasama Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, the health facilities are constructed under CDF, but for the Ministry of Health. So, isn't the Ministry of Health in charge of issuing the licenses to that particular health facility? In the case of Chamasongwe, Chamasongwe is now complete with everything that was required. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Chipangali has actually put in his own resources to ensure that all the necessary requirements to have this facility operational have been put in place. So I wish to urge you, Honorable Minister, to try and send a team to just check on what is remaining so that you may assist as soon as possible on the licensing of the facility to be operational. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the follow-up question. Health Professional Council of Zambia is part of government institution under Minister of Health. The onus to ensure that the license is given, the inspection is done, is on the Council and the Member of Parliament and our provincial health. Director. When you are done, you are done with the work, invite our office.
Honorable Queen Elizabeth. You are looking nice, though. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Yes, Madam Speaker. I was saying the onus is on the Council, and especially the CDF committee, to hand over to the Council, and then hand it over to the Minister of Health. They come and carry out an inspection, and if it meets the standards, then we can operationalize the center. Because most of the other people are building substandard, and that cannot qualify. We have to make sure that you have put everything in place. Then it can be given a license and operationalized. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member from Mbawala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for those good responses. Honorable Minister, in Mbawala, just like in Chipangali, we've got several of these health centers like Achenje, Namianda, Kaseko, and so forth, which are completely ready and also waiting for Minister of Health to index them. Is the Minister of Health thinking about a holistic recruitment of staff, particularly for these CDF-supported health centers that have been completed and are waiting operationalization by your ministry? That's English. If you didn't go to secondary school, yeah, there is free education nowadays. You can go back and learn. So, Honorable Minister, are you considering putting in a plan for all these health centers to actually get staffed by your teams so that they can begin to operate with immediate effect? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Mbawala, Member of Parliament. Yes, but mind you, there is an establishment. When it's licensed, we have also to look at the establishment in terms of employment. Let me put it this way. All those who are building health centers or mini hospitals, please, let's collaborate with the Minister of Health. When you finish, write us so that an inspection is done, and then we are informed. We see whether the staff can also be sufficient. But the government is now working on the establishment because the health centers are now quite extended in many areas, but the establishment has remained static. So we are working on the establishment so that we can take account of all these facilities and then facilitate staffing of all these facilities in the country. That's how this government is now working. It wants to establish and then move forward with the recruitment of the staff for all the health centers. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister of Health, this will probably be the third time that the people of Kamfinsa are requesting you to maybe come back to this House with a statement to deal with the issues that the Honorable Member from Mbawala has suggested, and which I'm going to suggest as a follow-up question to you, Honorable Minister. The issue is not just about members of staff. You also need equipment into all these different health facilities. Kamfinsa has about 4 or 5 that we've built. None of them is functional because we don't have equipment, and the members of staff to manage that facility have not been assigned. My question to the Minister of Health: when are you going to come to Parliament to holistically deal with the issue of members of staff and equipment for newly built health facilities under CDF? Because obviously that is what Chipangali has used, and that is what members of the Parliament are using. Facilities have been built, but they are not operational. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you. If it is licensed, the number of recruits of personnel. Like this year, we are recruiting 2,000. Among those 2,000, we have to spread them according to the entire country. And that's not only nurses and doctors, we have got clinicians and other cadres in the profession. That will be considered. And actually, most of the recruitment is done at provincial and district level. Every place in the whole country is considered. The only thing is the fiscal space is limited. But this government has done so well in 3 years. In 3 years, the government has employed almost now 20,000. Had it not been for the drought and COVID and these other difficult situations, today we would have employed as many. But be hopeful that as we move on, as the Kwacha is now breathing, the economy is improving, the situation is looking very bright. We have a hope. And also we have to visit your clinic where you have reserved some money together with us. We have to do it. We have to approach our officers and then we have to work together. This government is doing extremely very well. My young man, without preparation, honorable member, we shall work together and we shall do it. Madam, I thank you.
Thank you very much. This is actually, honorable members, this is a constituency-based question. I know we like stretching. Like it has been stated, I think the situation applies to most constituencies. And there was a request from the honorable member for Kamfinsa, whether the honorable minister will come with some form of statement to address most these issues arising from all the constituencies. I didn't hear the honorable minister comment on that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At your request and request of my colleague, the Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, we shall do that. And let me just give him an answer on equipment. Yes, the government is constantly giving us money for equipment, and we have asked the provincial health directors to give us the requirements in various provinces so that we can prioritize. It's difficult to buy everything at the same time, but at least we can prioritize. Issues like X-ray, those are very important. We can put them as number one, and then depending on how you prioritize in the areas, covering the whole constituency, you said that they'll be submitting to our office, and then we shall look into it. Government is constantly giving us money for equipment. I thank you, Madam Speaker. That will be done.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member for Feira, you want to ask a different question?
Madam Speaker, it's the same one. I just wanted to suggest to the Minister that why not go, looking at the development of functions and decentralization, why not go to district level or constituency level? Get the needs, health workers' needs in particular areas that have been created so that you have first-hand information. I think it has been always problematic when you approach it from the provincial. Why not go to the district? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health, I don't know if you got the question.
I haven't gotten the question clearly. Is it in terms of employment or in terms of what? If it is in terms of employment, I mentioned it clearly, that when there is an opportunity to employ, we go to the province and we go to the districts. This is there is a committee which involves members of government institutions to do the selection. This is done in education, this is done in health, it's done at the district level. I think you need to go back and familiarize yourself with the DC. They'll tell you that that's what is done. It's done at the district level, Madam Speaker. And let's see if at all the question was different from what I've responded. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Probably you can invite the Honorable Minister of Fera for a cup of tea. He can share ideas that he has. So, Honorable Member for Fera, I'm inviting you to the Honorable Minister's office for a cup of tea. If there is no sugar and coffee, please pass through my office, I will give you. So let's make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. People of Chadiza this time around are asking question 334.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Honorable Madam Speaker, Honorable Jonathan Daka, Member of Parliament for Chadiza constituency, asked the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security the following questions. A, whether the government has any plans to procure alternative lighting system at police stations countrywide in order to enhance their operation during power outages. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, what type of alternative lighting system will be procured? And D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, in responding to the questions asked by the Honourable Member, I wish to respond as follows. A, the government has plans to procure solar energy as an alternative lighting system for police stations countrywide to enhance police operations during power outages and load management. An assessment to determine the cost of installing solar equipment in all existing police stations has already been conducted. Providing solar lighting to all police formations is estimated to cost 29,675,530 kwacha. The House may wish to note that the government has started implementing this intervention and is also working with stakeholders who are supporting the initiative by installing solar systems in some police stations. The House may also wish to note that the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, made a directive for all government institutions to install solar lighting as an alternative to hydroelectricity. B, the plans are being implemented in a phased approach due to budgetary constraints. C, the alternative lighting system being procured is solar powered. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that response to this question. Honorable Minister, in percentage terms, how much work or how much progress have you attained with regards to the installation of this alternative solar, alternative energy provision to police stations? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
We have made progress, Madam Speaker.
He is asking for the percentage.
I will not be in a position to give the exact percentage, Madam Speaker, but I can assure the Honourable Member that we are making progress and we shall ensure that all police stations, once the money is made available, to have solar-powered lighting.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, in your statement, you said that the estimate has already been done. Now, and you also talked about the funding. Are you waiting for supplementary funding to fund the project that you have mentioned before this August House? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
No, Madam Speaker. As I indicated, we are doing this program in phases, depending on the availability of resources. And as you are aware, we are midway through the budgetary cycle, and we may, if we don't finish, we may budget again for the next year.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, you have indicated that the total budget allocation is about 29 million. How much allocation did we make towards the same in this year's budget? I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, my colleague is free to come to the office and we'll look at the figures so that we know exactly how far we have gone, because this is an ongoing project.
Thank you very much. With that, we make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Kanchibia.
Question 335, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Sandy Chanda Kanchibia, to ask the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock what measures the government is taking to enable the goat breeding center at Chembe in Kanchibia Parliamentary constituency to operate optimally. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. The House may wish to note that goat breeding center at Chembe in Kanchibia Parliamentary constituency was established to conserve and multiply the population of local goats. The center serves community members seeking breeding stock for their household enterprises and currently houses 85 goats, that is 22 males and 53 female. To ensure the centers operate at optimal capacity, the government is implementing the following measures, 4 measures. 1, provision of high-quality breeding goats, enhancement of nutrition and supplementary feeding, improvement of staffing levels and funding, and rehabilitation and construction of essential infrastructure. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable... supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Kanchibia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for your response. On behalf of the people of Kanchibia, we are grateful. Our dream, our vision is to see that the breeding center functions optimally and that it serves the intended purpose in that particular region. It would be interesting for us to find out from the ministry if at all there's any budget line that has been allocated towards the interventions that government is taking, as you've alluded to in your statement. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I can agree to state that there is no current budget line, but as a ministry, we have taken note of all the challenges that is the center is facing. Amongst the challenges are accommodation for staff, inadequate and erratic funding. This is what I'm talking about. But we are hopeful that we should be able to put in more money, because we plan to put in more money in the next year's budget where research is concerned. Now this center will be regarded as part of the research facilities that we want to upgrade. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kanchibia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, thank you for the assurance. But just to frame it up, and for purposes of, my grandmother in Luchembe, could we get an assurance that this particular goat breeding center will get an allocation in the next budget? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, it is an assurance, and we should be able to give you accurate, detailed information of what exactly we are going to do and put in the next year's budget. I submit.
Thank you. The next question, the Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. People of Chadiza are asking question 336.
The Honorable Minister of Education.
Madam Speaker, Mr. Daka asks the Minister of Education, A,
when the government will procure information and communication technology equipment for the following in Chadiza districts. 1, primary schools, 2, secondary schools, and 3, the office of the district education board secretary, and B, when the office of the DEPS will be connected to the internet. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that government is committed to enhancing digital infrastructure in schools and education offices across the country, including Chadiza district. A, with regard to the procurement of information and communication technology equipment in Chadiza district, 1, for primary schools, the government is considering the procurement of ICT equipment which will be undertaken once funds are made available. The government remains committed to equipping primary schools with the necessary digital tools to enhance learning. 3, for secondary schools, the procurement process has already commenced with Chadiza Secondary School among the targeted institutions. As part of this initiative, 20 computers have been earmarked for procurement to improve digital literacy and facilitate technology, thus enhancing learning. Regarding the office of the district education board secretary, plans are underway to procure ICT equipment, including computers, printers, and networking devices to enhance operational efficiency and service delivery. B, the office of the DEPS is scheduled to be connected to the internet by December 2025. This will improve communication, data management, and service delivery within the education sector in Chadiza district. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Minister, would like to appreciate your response to this question. However, would like to know exactly when, because you have just mentioned that for primary schools, this particular activity of procuring ICT equipment has commenced, but you have remained mute on secondary schools. Therefore, I would like to pose this question to you to find out when exactly the same exercise will commence for secondary schools. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister for Education.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, Chadiza Member of Parliament. Madam Speaker, this is a process, and you know the process of procurement, you cannot say this time. So it's a process, and many stakeholders are actually helping us. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, I think we have lagged behind in terms of technology. We should have started with a revolution. As Zambia and Africa, we lagged in the agrarian revolution. Industrial revolution came, we lagged behind. The information age again came, we are lagging behind. This is why we are now taking it upon ourselves to say that can we go to so many technology companies to help us, because otherwise we cannot manage all these schools at the same time. So it will be a phase period. We give these ones, but it's unfortunate, strictly speaking, it's unfortunate that we've reached this age having had lagged behind again under the information age. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I see no other indications, so we make progress. The next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 337.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central
is asking the Minister of Energy a question in 4 parts. A, whether the government has any plans to venture into generation of electricity across the country using windmill plants. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, whether Kalabo district will be considered for construction of windmill plants. And in D, if Kalabo will not be considered, why? Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Government has plans to venture into generation of electricity across the country using wind as a resource. Government, with the support from the cooperating partners, is undertaking resource assessments and capacity building demonstration projects for the establishment of wind power projects across the country. The studies are aimed at highlighting the technical, financial, economical, and environmental viability of the projects. Further, Madam Speaker, various private sector players, with the support from the cooperating partners, such as the United States Trade Development Agency, have undertaken feasibility studies for the establishment of wind power projects. The projects are at various levels, including negotiations for power purchase agreements, negotiations for implementation agreement, and other approvals from regulatory agencies. In B, Madam Speaker, the government has opened up the sector for private developers to implement wind energy projects. These projects are at various stages of development. Currently, the various developers are working to secure finance for project implementation, and thereafter the timeline will be established. In C, Kalabo district was considered under the exercise to identify wind power potential across the country. The implementation of a wind power project in the Kalabo district is, however, subject to the results of detailed feasibility studies. Therefore, the government will facilitate and provide the necessary support for potential developers to undertake detailed feasibility studies aimed at assessing the viability of wind power generation in Kalabo district. In D, Madam Speaker, based on the response in C, Kalabo district has been considered. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to find out, the Minister was talking of feasibility studies. Is there a timeline with those feasibility studies? And if there is, it's up to what? What's the timeline for the feasibility studies? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. Madam Speaker, this, with the policy of open access, these activities are being carried out by our private sectors. So it will depend on the private sectors, on the rights that have been given to establish for these feasibility studies. And also, Madam Speaker, according to the permits that we give, they only last for 2 years. So within the 2 years, they will be able to bring the detailed feasibility studies. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinso.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, to generate power from wind, by now Zambia should have mapped which parts of Zambia have got potential for wind energy. By now Zambia probably has mapped where potential for solar energy is highest. By now, Zambia must have done that. So I want to find out from the minister responsible for energy. Do we have a report, Madam Speaker, which tells us which parts of Zambia have got high potential for wind energy? You just don't go and put a windmill and expect that you generate power. There must be some form of there must be some form of report where we have engaged a consultant to give us that report. Is that report in place so that probably it answers the question from the honorable member for Kalabo? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member. Madam Speaker, Kalabo is one of the areas that has already been identified having done the studies. So Kalabo has got sufficient wind, which is about 3.5 speed meters per second at a height of 80 meters. So the honorable member for Kalabo must be very sure that such kind of detailed information has already been established. Also, we have areas that we have already, identified after having the studies. And some of the areas the honorable member may wish to note is Katete, which we have planned for 140 megawatts. We have Mpika, which we have earmarked for 150. We have Nakonde, we have got Masaiti, we have got Serenje, we have got Chivombo. Madam Speaker, that is the information the ministry have. I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana. Honorable Member for Nkana, you have no question? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, thank you very much. But the answers were very impressive with answering with the statistics from the head. The data is important. Well, today looks like we are very efficient. Motion, the Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements for the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on the 16th of June, 2025.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Chilanga. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements on the consideration of statutory instrument number 2024. Statutory instrument number of statutory instruments for 2024 and the review of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement for the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 16th June 2025. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, I'm grateful. During the year under review, the committee considered a total of 52 statutory instruments issued by different government ministries and agencies. The committee also undertook its first ever post-legislative scrutiny exercise of legislation, though through a topical issue on the review of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which Zambia ratified in February 2021. Madam Speaker, in light of the energy crisis the country is currently facing, the committee bemoans the low levels of citizen participation as prosumers in the net metering initiative and the slow pace at which the open access initiative is being implemented. This is pursuant to Statutory Instrument number 38, the Electricity Net Metering Regulations 2024, and Statutory Instrument number 40, the Electricity Open Access Regulations 2024, respectively. The committee therefore urges the executive to enhance sensitization to attract more prosumers to invest in renewable energy and provide the access to the national grid through net metering. The committee further recommends that government expedites the open access initiative by providing funding to carry out initiatives related to open access realization and establishment of the independent system and market operator. Madam Speaker, as part of the African Union Agenda 2063, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement seeks to create an integrated market for trade in goods and services. The agenda is also intended to enhance the free movement of persons and capital. The AfCFTA came into effect on 1st January 2021, and presently 54 out of the 55 AU member states have signed the agreement, with Eritrea being the sole country that has not ratified the agreement. Sorry, Madam Speaker. And presently 54 out of the 55 AU member states have signed the agreement, with Eritrea being the sole country that has not. Zambia ratified the agreement on 5th February 2021. Madam Speaker, the strategic move underscores Zambia's aspirations to enhance regional integration and addresses barriers to the cross-border movement of goods, services, capital, and labor. Additionally, it aims at fostering technology transfer and create an enabling environment for economic transformation. Madam Speaker, for Zambia to effectively participate in the AfCFTA, there is need for the government, through the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and relevant agencies such as the Zambia Development Agency, Zambia Revenue, and the private sector, to enhance collaboration in identifying available opportunities for trade in goods and services under the AfCFTA. Madam Speaker, Zambia must also invest in air freight and border facilities to enhance its competitiveness in trade. Investment in infrastructure development, coupled with identifying strategic sectors and exploiting export markets within Africa, is key to effective participation in trade under the AfCFTA. Madam Speaker, may I now address the potential for revenue loss expected from the gradual removal of trade tariffs under the AfCFTA, the government is required to put in place strategic measures to expand Zambia's domestic tax base in order to ensure fiscal stability and continued investment in national priorities. Furthermore, there is need to create and enhance opportunities for access to affordable capital for macro, small and medium enterprises, strengthen their capacity in order for them to participate in priority sectors such as primary, agriculture, textiles, animal products, and light manufacturing. Madam Speaker, the committee also undertook a foreign tour to Rwanda to appreciate the implementation of the Africa Free Continental Trade Area in that country. The committee learned that Rwanda had already started trading under the Guided Trade Initiative and was exporting coffee and tea to Ghana in the same vein. To promote exports, the government of Rwanda had waived export licenses and reduced freight charges on exports for local goods through its national airline, Rwanda Air. All these measures were aimed at promoting the locals' participation in continental trade under the AfCFTA. In drawing lessons from Rwanda experience, the committee urges the government to conclude and formalize the requirements with the AfCFTA Secretariat. This will enable Zambia to participate under the Guided Trade Initiative, which seeks to allow commercial, meaningful trading and test the operational, institutional, and legal and trade policy environment under the AfCFTA. The GTI, which is the Guided Trade Initiative, is an interim solution to kickstart meaningful trade among interested state parties that have met the minimum requirements for commencing trade under the AfCFTA. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank your office and that of the clerk for the National Assembly for the support rendered to the committee throughout this session. I would also like to thank all the government institutions that availed themselves during the committee's local tour of Lusaka, Central, Southern, and Copperbelt provinces, as well as those that provided written submissions. With these remarks, I urge all members to support the report of the committee. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. I hope, Honorable Member, you are okay. You are fine? Okay, I could see that. Wishing you a quick recovery. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chilanga.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me the opportunity to second this progressive motion. Allow me to also thank the mover of the motion and the chairperson of the committee for the able manner in which he presided over the committee's deliberations. Madam Speaker, I will restrict my comments to two issues. The first being the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Madam Speaker, in order for women and youth to effectively participate in trade under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, there is need for the government and private sector to provide opportunities for access to cheap financing. This will ensure that Zambian micro, small and medium enterprises grow their capacity and become competitive. So there is need for the government and financial sector players to develop financial instruments and support mechanisms to improve access to finance to enable MSMEs to expand their operations and participate in regional trade. Madam Speaker, there is also need for awareness, as many Zambian businesses do not fully understand the potential benefits and requirements of trading under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The committee also observed that multi-facility zones and industrial yards remained underutilized. Lastly, on this issue, Madam Speaker, there is need to operationalize the National Implementation Committee so as to roll out activities such as sensitization of the public on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, among others. The second issue I'll comment on, Madam Speaker, is statutory instrument number 47, the Katuba, Manyumbi, and Kafurafuta toll plazas. Madam Speaker, the statutory instrument was issued pursuant to Section 25 of the Tolls Act, number 14 of 2011, in order to designate the Lusaka to Ndola Road as a toll road, with the Kafurafuta, Katuba, and Manyumbi toll plazas designated as toll points from where a toll shall be collected. The objective of the statutory instrument was to grant Macro Oceans Investment Consortium Limited, the concessionaire, the mandate to operate and maintain the toll roads where the toll plazas were situated in accordance with the Act, regulations, and concession agreements. Madam Speaker, the committee bemoans the structure of the sharing mechanism under the concession agreement, where the concessionaire has been granted to collect toll fees and collecting 80% of collections for purposes of maintaining and rehabilitating the brownfield. On the other hand, government is only collecting 20% from all the toll fees collected on the toll plazas on the stretch. So between August 2024 and May 2025, the concessionaire collected 335.1 million kwacha, whilst the government collected 83.7 million kwacha. The committee therefore also observed the lack of review and termination clause in the agreement and urges the government to exercise extensive due diligence in future public-private partnerships to ensure that interests of Zambians are safeguarded and that other sectors are not affected by this loss of revenue. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, the committee further urges government to reconsider the putting up of the toll plaza at the Zambia National Service in Kabwe. This is pursuant to statutory instrument number 74 of the Tolls Regulations 2020. This is in view of the increase in the number of toll plazas on the stretch and considering the distance from Katuba Toll Plaza to the Manyumbi Toll Plaza in Kabwe. With that said, Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, the people of Kamfinsa wish to add their voice to this report, the report that has been presented by the Honorable Member for Chitambo and seconded by the MP for Chilanga. Madam Speaker, due to the limited time, I will restrict my debate to two key issues regarding the statutory instruments that were signed and which have been captured in your report, Madam Speaker. SI number 30, which is Customs and Excise Maize Corn Suspension Regulations 2024. Madam Speaker, according to this SI which was signed by government, The essence of the SI is to ensure that there's food security by addressing potential food shortages by facilitating the importation of maize. That is what has been identified as the objective of government signing this SI. Now, here is my concern, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have just produced 3.6 million tons of maize in 2025, which was the similar amount of maize that we produced in 2021, 3.6 million tons of maize. The Minister of Agriculture, who is not present today, has confirmed that government is only going to buy 543,000 metric tons of maize, meaning 3.1 million tons of maize will not be bought by government. What will happen, Madam Speaker, as a result of that decision by government is that everyone that has produced the extra maize, Madam Speaker, will start looking for a buyer either outside or internally. The consequence, Madam Speaker, of that decision is that all the maize might find itself out of the country and will come back to the same problem of not having adequate maize for food security. What am I submitting today, Madam Speaker? My submission is that the SI, which was done in 2024, was an attempt to resolve a problem which was created because all the maize that we produced from way back was allowed to be exported. We are creating another problem, Madam Speaker, by allowing only 500,000 tons of maize to be bought. Because where do the farmers take the extra 3.1 million tons of maize, Madam Speaker? It means that export permits will be issued. People will start exporting maize and will come back to this August House again, Madam Speaker, discussing the issue of maize. The people of Zambia out there are wondering, we've produced 3.6 million tons of maize. Why are we only buying 543,000 metric tons? Why are we going to create another problem, Madam Speaker? We have the maize. Are we going to come back to this Parliament to ask that we approve another supplementary budget, Madam Speaker, to buy the same maize that we already had? The people of Kamfinsa are submitting that yes, it is good to sign an SI to import maize when there's a crisis, but that crisis, Madam Speaker, can be avoided. We have a great opportunity today with this 3.6 million tons of maize that we have produced, Madam Speaker, to do the correct thing. What is the correct thing that we need to do, Madam Speaker? We have to ensure that we
Sorry, Honourable Member for Kamfinsa. There is an indication for a point of order from the Honourable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. What's the point of order, Honourable Minister?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I sincerely apologize to my brother, the Honourable Member for Kamfinsa. I'm standing on point of order pursuant from 71B, which talks about ensure that the information he or she provides to the House is factual and verifiable. Madam Speaker, I appreciate the concern of the Honourable Member of Parliament regarding the 500 metric tons that has been announced by the Minister of Agriculture to purchase, and also the remaining that he's worried that there'll be speculative buying and people will sell to any would-be highest bidder and leave the country vulnerable to lack of grain in the country. Madam Speaker, we are a very responsible government. His Excellency the President has set up a committee headed by the Secretary to the Cabinet, to which I am a part as Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, where the private sector buyers, Madam Speaker, who are coming on board to buy maize, grain from the other farmers in excess of what we are not going to buy, should be bought, Madam Speaker, to return what is right for the private millers in the country to satisfy the food security, and also now if there will be any need for exports, there will be value that will be retained in the country and the traceable revenue that should be done through the banking communities. Madam Speaker, I can assure you as Trade Minister, we have learned lessons from the previous and current activities and mistakes. That will not happen. The private sellers are taken care of through a committee that is at place. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the point of order, Madam Speaker, is that there is no fact. Madam Speaker, I needed to give context to the reason what I'm doing. There are people out there, Madam Speaker, who should listen to what we are saying.
So the point of order, Madam Speaker, is that there is no one that is going to allow maize to be sought out at the expense of food security in the country. I submit.
Order.
Madam Speaker, is the debater in order to mislead the public that there will be no food security in the country? I submit.
Order, honorable members. From where I'm seated, listening to what the honorable member for Kamfinsa, he was just expressing a concern that if this maize is not bought by the government, the excess might find itself in other places, including exportation. So we are glad to learn that the honorable minister is actually in a committee that is ensuring that the maize doesn't find itself outside. It would be nice actually if maybe there could be a ministerial statement just to reassure the members of the public that the maize will not go. Because once bitten, twice shy. So I think he was just expressing a concern. So he was not out of order. May the honorable member for Kamfinsa continue.
Madam Speaker, I want to retaliate as I go to my second point. I want to retaliate.
Reiterate.
I want to reiterate, Madam Speaker, statutory instrument number 30. Madam Speaker, statutory instrument number 30 is very clear. The government made a decision, and Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize, government made a decision to allow for export of maize, and as a result we had a crisis. And because we had a crisis, Madam Speaker, there are lessons that have to be learned. And one of the lessons that we have to learn is that we have to retain the correct amount of maize for food security. And that was my point, Madam Speaker. You have produced 3.6 million tons of maize, and you are only buying 543. Madam Speaker, that is a concern for the people of Zambia. Secondly, Madam Speaker, SI number 30. Madam Speaker, in 2022, government approved a law called Public Debt Management Act, which this Parliament approved, Madam Speaker, and the three objectives of that particular law was to operationalize the Debt Management Office, to ensure that external borrowing by public officers was controlled, and 3, to ensure that there was management of a sinking fund. These were the three objectives of the law. Madam Speaker, the purpose for which the SI was signed was to ensure that these three objectives are achieved. Now here is my concern, Madam Speaker, which should be the concern of our colleagues in central government. 2023, external borrowing was at $1.4 billion. 2024, external borrowing was at $1.6 billion. In the same 2024, Madam Speaker, Minister of Finance came here asking for an extra $490 million, meaning the amount of money we are borrowing is still going up. Recently, Madam Speaker, there's been conversation between government and IMF for another amount of money to be made available to the Zambian government. So on one hand, Madam Speaker, the SI has been signed to ensure that we control how much money we are borrowing. On the other hand, Madam Speaker, the requests from the Minister of Finance keep coming to Parliament for approval. My concern, and which should be the concern of our colleagues in government, is that we have put instruments in place to try and manage our debt. But on the other hand, Madam Speaker, the figures are showing that we are still borrowing. Domestically, Madam Speaker, 2023, we borrowed 15.5 billion kwacha. In 2024, external borrowing, 17 billion kwacha. Madam Speaker, 2024, the minister came back for extra domestic borrowing at 6 billion kwacha. What am I trying to emphasize, Madam Speaker? On one hand, the statutory instrument has been signed to ensure that we do not borrow so much beyond the point that we can be able to pay back. On the other hand, Madam Speaker, the SI is not serving its intended purpose because the Minister of Finance, through the instruments that have been provided, keeps coming to Parliament asking for money to be borrowed. So the people of Kamfinsa are submitting that yes, statutory instruments are important, but they are not serving the intended purpose if we are doing the opposite against the objectives of those particular regulations. And I do hope that the Minister of Finance, I know is not there, I don't know if it's a leader of government business who will respond. SIs are good instruments if well managed, and I hope that government will minimize the amount of money that has to be borrowed, considering the statutory instrument that we've signed. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Madam Speaker, thank you for allowing me to also make my submission on the report of the Committee on Registration as well as international agreement, which report speaks to the consideration that was made by the committee on the statutory instruments that were signed or rather issued by government in the year 2024 as well as the Africa Free Continental Trade agreement. Madam Speaker, the report has highlighted that the committee considered 52 statutory instruments that were issued in the year 2024. And so I will look at two statutory instruments, number 16 and 46. Statutory instrument number 16, Madam Speaker, relates to the commencement order 2024 of the public-private partnership. Now, Madam Speaker, you wish to know that this statutory instrument was created to operationalize the Public-Private Partnership Act number 18 of 2023. Madam Speaker, this statutory instrument, was issued so as to regulate the implementation of the public-private partnerships in Zambia. Just so that we can guide ourselves in the conversation, Madam Speaker, government decided to change the model of implementing development in this country. Because previously, government would embark on developments through the budget provisions as well as support from cooperating partners by way of funding. And we found ourselves in excess borrowing. Now, it was envisaged that we ran away from that model to allow the participation of the private sector working hand in hand with government. And hence, this idea of the public-private partnership was envisaged and an act was enacted, and therefore this statutory instrument was issued so as to see the implementation as well as the guidance on how we manage public-private partnerships. There are a number of projects that have already been signed, Madam Speaker, under PPP arrangements. And I have in mind the Lusaka Ndola Dio carriageway as well as the Chingola Kasumbalesa road as well as the toll plaza. Let me speak to the Chingola Kasumbalesa road, Madam Speaker, which of course has already been completed, and the toll plaza has already been given to the concessionaire. Now, the arrangement under the PPP, for the sake of those who may follow this conversation, is that the private sector will come in because government does not have money. And the private sector says they have got money. So government allows them to come in with their money and their expertise to do a project, and afterwards, government through a particular arrangement starts to pay back. In the case of roads, we give them toll plazas for them to recover their investment. Now, here is where I have a problem, Madam Speaker. This committee has highlighted this, that the toll plaza in Chirilabombo, the Konkola toll plaza, is receiving a special arrangement where toll fees were increased by 1,000%, where trucks were paying 150 kwacha, trucks are now paying 1,550 kwacha, going and coming back. The committee in their interactions with the ministry found or calculated that as opposed to the time frame given to the concessionaire, where they operate this toll plaza for 18 years, Madam Speaker, this concessionaire is going to get back its investment in only 5 years. It begs the question, what are the 13 years extra for if this concessionaire is going to recover its investment in only 5 years? Interestingly, Madam Speaker, the committee asked the ministry to go and revisit the contract. The response that came was that, unfortunately, there was no exit clause. Now, the management of these contracts needs to be supervised very well, Madam Speaker, because this is now becoming a conduit for corruption. Because there is no justification why you would give a concessionaire to operate a toll gate for 18 years when they are going to recover their investment in 5 years. And this is what is in the report. If it was coming from elsewhere, Madam Speaker, we would say people are speculating. But the committee, your committee, Madam Speaker, went further to probe government, go and change this contract. Government is saying we missed an opportunity because we did not put an exit clause. The dual carriageway from Lusaka into Ndola has a lifespan of 20 years, Madam Speaker. But government has given the concessionaire to operate the toll plazas or that road for 23 years. Meaning exceeding the lifespan of the road, this contractor is going to be collecting public money for 23 years. Now, interestingly, Madam Speaker, statutory instrument number 46, government has given the concessionaire before they can even do the project halfway, because as it stands now, the concessionaire has only done about 23-25% of the road. Government issues a statutory instrument to allow them to start collecting money before they can even, invest. The justification is that they want to be, collecting money from the toll plazas to invest in brownfields. Brownfields meaning the road that we are using currently now must be maintained. Now, interestingly, Madam Speaker, part of the contract that was signed was that this concessionaire was going to be attending to both the new project as well as maintaining the old project. It begs therefore the question, why are you giving them money if the undertaking was that they were going to be doing both, doing the new road as well as maintaining the existing road? This is corruption, Madam Speaker. And that is why I'm emphasizing that these PPP are a conduit for corruption if we don't interrogate them further. Now, Madam Speaker, the rationale of PPPs was that you bring in a private player who has money. It will interest you that why this project was not done, the Lusaka dual carriageway, is that all the contractors who were given previously in the previous governments could not find the financing on the market. This particular concessionaire also could not find money on the market. Instead, government facilitated for this concessionaire to come and get our money at NAPSA. The argument has been NAPSA should have been allowed to be the one to finance the project, and this concessionaire should have just been brought in for their own expertise. Do you know why we ran away from this proposed arrangement? It's because somewhere, somehow, people could create contracts like this where there is no exit clause, and the concessionaire will continue to collect money, public money, beyond them having recovered their initial investments. PPP are a good model, Madam Speaker, which is why, going further, we must therefore be interested in how these contracts are being signed. Which is why, Madam Speaker, through you, these contracts must be made available to Parliament so that we scrutinize, so that we avoid these being used as a conduit for corruption, as the case is on these two plazas. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Feira.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Feira to also air their views on the report. Madam Speaker, allow me to just thank the mover of the motion and the seconder thereof for ably moving this motion on the report. And Madam Speaker, let me address myself to the review of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which has been said to be a flagship project for the African Union. Now, let me start by saying that the African Union is a union of all African countries, which are 54 in number. And indeed, the objectives of the agreement is as follows: to create a single market for goods, services, movement of people, create a liberalized market for goods and services, also to contribute movement of capital and people, among other issues. Madam Speaker, you will agree with me that most African countries are just 50, 60 years out of colonialism. Madam Speaker, we obtained political independence after the colonialists left, but our economies are still tied to the former colonizers. And that is the basis of my debate as we look at how we are going to integrate and have a free trade area within Africa. Madam Speaker, the report also looks at how the agreement has impacted on Zambia in terms of the legal framework and how effective Zambia's integration as well as operationalization into its laws according to the provisions of that free trade area. Madam Speaker, there is also a submission made in the report that liberalization of the market must be progressive and slowly elimination of non-tariff barriers. Now, my point is, if we look at the Zambian economy, for instance, before we go to other economies, today we are talking about borrowing and doing all these things and being mostly of an import-oriented country. To that effect, what should come first? For us to go into a free trade area, what are we going to trade? That is the question we're going to. Zambia, as it stands today, its economy is extractive. We are digging copper, we are not processing it. We are growing even maize, my colleague was talking about, we export it as maize. There are no secondary industries that have been built over a period of time. And that will not impact well going into this free trade area. Madam Speaker, our industries indeed are weak, and we need to see how we can protect our SMEs and many other startup capitals. On the other day, Madam Speaker, we're talking about Zambian players in the economy. And I believe that even as we talk about the free trade area, we should look at Zambian businessmen participating in the production as well as in the export and import of goods within Africa under a free trade area. We will not allow a situation where, our land, foreign companies coming and benefit from this free trade area. Otherwise, we will not be achieving the objective that we want to achieve under the free trade area. Because finally, we need to address issues of poverty and other social challenges that this country is facing. That being the case, it can only be done through Zambian-driven companies. It is not true that foreign companies would ever help us develop this country. Madam Speaker, there are a number of protocols that have been identified in terms of services, and there's been challenges that have been identified in operationalizing the African free trade area. We have read from the report that Zambia has developed a national strategy and implementation plan of the free trade area. Laws have been made, but thus far, and that was done in 2021, that's when the agreement, the free trade agreement, was actually operationalized. Now, there are a number of challenges that have been identified by the committee, and I would like to dwell on them. Madam Speaker, one of the issues is the infrastructure. In order for there to be movement of goods and services, in order for this trade to happen, we need good roads, we need an air system. Our colleagues who went to Rwanda, they've just informed us that actually Rwanda has reduced tariffs through air transport because they have their own airline. And now this airline, we are not talking about an airline that actually is, fledgling. This is a well-organized airline. In other words, before we think about assenting to this and continuing to be in the free trade area, we need to address those issues. Madam Speaker, before I sit down, let me also address the issue of doing business, the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business in Zambia, or Africa indeed, is determined by people outside Africa. And what stops them from misleading us and pegging it high in order to avoid this? Secondly, we have 43 convertible currencies each one of us, how are we going to standardize this? The reliance on the dollar will not help the free trade area to operate, because the dollar in any case is not even backed by value. It's just paper value. Neither is it, backed by gold. Also, the multinationals have created cartels, and this is one thing we should look at. And I think as a country, we need to take this serious. They will come here, form companies, operate, and benefit from this, instead of the benefits coming to the country, but the benefits going outside the country. And indeed, Madam Speaker, let me, before I sit, just express a few words on SI number 47, which gave Katuba, Manyumbi, and Kaflafuta toll gates to this macro ocean investment consortium. My colleague from Ghana has ably dealt it, but I just want to say that in view of this, the government is collecting 20% of what this macro ocean is collecting, and that company is getting 80% without any justification. We are not going to accept the fact that there is no termination or review clause in this. As a country, how many times are we going to be signing things? Don't we have the Attorney General? What is the Attorney General's chambers doing for us to have such an agreement which is counterproductive? Madam Speaker, let me just say that the agreement with macro ocean, and I must emphasize, first and foremost, it needs to be terminated. This contract is illegal, immoral, counterproductive, and against the interests of Zambians. We are talking about fighting corruption, but in fact, we went to school not to develop this country. This contract shows that people go to school to steal from this country. This is a theft agreement, and it must be terminated. Madam Speaker, with these revelations, we need a special commission of inquiry of what actually happened. And I think that, Minister of Infrastructure, go back to your office and to your officers. You must terminate this contract. Otherwise, we are not going to accept theft in broad daylight. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The next will be the Honorable Member for Chama South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank the mover of the report, Honorable Remember Mutale, and the seconder, my MP for Chilanga. Madam Speaker, I'm one of the proponents of Africanism, Pan-Africanism. If you look at our continent, as a nation, we're a member of so many multilateral protocols, agreements, and institutions. We are a member of the World Trade Organization. This country has also ratified the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs and Trade, GATT, among other protocols and treaties that speak to trade. Coming to the Africa Free Trade Agreement, Madam Speaker, this is a very, very important instrument which, as a nation, we should quickly assent or ratify. The reason is very simple. We are seeing a strong Europe today because all the nations.
I thought we just ratified it recently.
It is not operationalized. This is what the report is.
Was it this week? Yesterday? Didn't we adopt?
Oh, it was operationalized yesterday.
We ratified. It was ratified.
Thank you, yes, Madam Speaker. That being the case, Madam Speaker, we need to prepare as a nation. How do we prepare if we are to reap maximum benefits from these treaties and agreements, like the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? We need to produce as a nation at a competitive price. We also need to add quality to our goods and services. I know efforts are being made in terms of production. I think as a nation, we've just been ranked I think number 6 or 7, as among the African nations whose economy in terms of production is doing very well. For that, I think I would like to thank the government for the efforts that they are putting in spite extreme challenges, Madam Speaker. We had serious drought resulting in serious energy deficits. In spite of that, I think our industries have remained resilient. Madam Speaker, I'll be submitting that for us to reap maximum benefit from these agreements, we need to come up with serious production measures.
Order. As the time is 16:40, I suspend business for 20 minutes for a health break.
Thank you for still being with us on Parliamentary television. Business has been suspended for a 20 minutes break, and at the time business was being suspended, on the floor of the House was Chama South Member of Parliament, Mr. Davison Mungandu, debating to a motion that has been moved by Mr. Remember Mutale, who is Chitambo Member of Parliament, urging that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Legislation and International Agreements on the consideration of statutory instruments for 2024 and the review of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement for the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 16th June 2025. And so when business resumes after the break, we do expect Mr. Mungandu to continue with his debate.
The motion was seconded by Chilanga Member of Parliament, Mr. Chipo Lazo, and so far we've seen a number of members of Parliament that have debated. Just before the member who was on the floor of the House, just before the interruption for the break, we saw Mr. Emmanuel Banda, there, Member of Parliament, debating. We also saw Mr. Benoit Mpundu, who is in Kana, Member of Parliament, and the debate started with Kamfinsa, Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, who also debated, and we've seen quite a number of other members of Parliament have indicated to debate this motion. We considered, the House did consider some questions for oral answer, and Madam Speaker did make an announcement when business just began, and welcoming this crew that has visited the Parliament building. Taza, we need to take a break.
Indeed, so just now we take a break. Keep watching Parliament television.